Nvidia just dropped amazing earnings. Nvidia reported $46.7 billion of revenue this quarter, second quarter, and it's up 56% from its loss from a year ago and 6% from previous quarter. Let's get into details. We're going to start with CFO commentary on second quarter. As I said, revenue came $46.743 billion, and an increase of 6% compared to its previous quarter, and an increase of 56% from a year ago. Gross margins increased by 11.9%, but they're still down 2.7% from a year ago. Net income came quite surprising. Net income increased by 41% from previous quarter and 59% from a year ago. And let's move on to revenue by market platforms. Data center contributed $41.096 billion into revenue. Gaming contributed $4.287 billion into revenue. And others, such as professional visualization, contributed $601. Automotive contributed $586 million. OEM and others contributed $173 million, making up a total of $46.743 billion. Every individual segment increased except compute. Compute declined by 1% compared to its previous quarter. This took a couple of traders off guard, and which led to a drop of 3 to 4% of Nvidia's stock price in aftermarket after the earnings call. And Nvidia is still trading pretty low, trading at $179, and it's down 1.17% compared to from its opening. And yesterday after earnings, it was trading down 3 to 4%. Just because compute came negative 1%. It's not significant, but as you know, traders they take every negative news and they like to trade. I'm gonna quickly switch to my my Word file because I read this commentary today and I took some notes and I would like to discuss on those. Okay, we're gonna start with there were no S20 sales to China-based customer in second quarter. So Nvidia didn't sell a single S20 to China at all in the second quarter. And the Blackwell architecture grew by 17%, which is amazing. And a data center computer revenue was $33.8 billion, up by 50% from a year ago. Sequentially, compute revenue declined by 1%, driven by $4 billion reduction in H20 sale. So this was the main reason why the compute revenue declined by 1%. It was mainly because the $4 billion reduction in H20 sales. Moving further on, the increase in expense were primarily driven by the compute and the infrastructure cost and the higher compensation and benefits due to the compensation increased and employee growth. Cash and cash equivalent and marketable securities were $46.8 billion, up from $34.8 billion in a year ago, and a good increase in cash and cash equivalent. But also, account receivable was $27.8 billion with 54 days sale outstanding, up from 46 days sequentially, driven by timing of cash collection and Blackwell Ultra ramping late in quarter. So there is one more negative point. It's that usually it takes 54 days for Nvidia to collect their accounts receivable, but now it's gonna take 46 days to no, my bad. So it usually takes 46 days to collect Nvidia's receivables. Now it's gonna take 54 days. So it's an increase, which is one drawback. And their receivable has increased quite significant, as we're gonna talk over here. The cash flow from operating activities was $14.4 billion from $14.5 billion in a year ago and down from $27 billion in a quarter ago. So their revenue from operating activities has declined quite significant compared to its previous quarter, which it could be mainly caused by accounts receivable. We're gonna quickly check it. We're gonna shift to back to the Chrome and to Nvidia's reporting, and we're going to move to the cash statement. So now we are going to look at a statement of cash of this reported quarter of Nvidia, and we could definitely see why the cash from operating activities decreased. The major decrease is caused by accounts receivable. Account receivable increased by $5.6 billion, and also inventory increased by $3.6 billion, which is taking a big hit on cash by operating activities, as well as accrued and other current liability increased by $4 billion, which is definitely taking the big hit on operating activities. Compared to its Q1, we could see that account receivable were positive in statement of cash, which means that it was a decrease of $933 million in account receivable. And talking of inventory in Q1's report, which was only increased by $1.2 billion compared to $3.6 billion of this quarter. And that's why the net of the cash from operating activities for Q1 was $27 billion, and for this quarter it's for $15 billion. So back to CFO and commentaries, there is something that I found really interesting and which I would like to share, which is this. Especially for us investors, this should be interesting. So, Nvidia stated that they returned $10 billion to shareholders in the second quarter through $9.7 billion of share repurchases and $244 million of cash dividend. On August 26th of 2025, Nvidia's board approved an additional $60 billion worth of stock repurchases. So they are planning on buying $60 billion of their own shares, but there is a catch which is without an expiration. So we don't know this plan is up to when or when they're going to start with this $60 billion of repurchases of stock. So, but I suspect that Nvidia is about returning $10 billion to their shareholders. So I suspect that this is from next quarter to Q4 of 2026. So for 6 quarters, they're going to contribute $60 billion. They're going to repurchase $60 billion of their own stock, which is definitely a good deal for us investors, as it's going to increase the stock price as well as the earnings per share. And I think this is it for today's video, and if you liked it, please drop a like button and subscribe to my channel, and stay tuned for new videos. I'm probably gonna make a new video on September, or especially on my portfolio update. Bye, see you.